Hi, everyone. So again, this is Brittany with Scott Marketing. Today's class, we are going to be going over the team functions. So again, just to clarify, if you are recognized as a team by your market center and they've set you up as a team in the team tool, you will have access to all of the functions that we are going over today. If you are not associated with a team or if you practice as an individual agent, you will not have access to any of these functions. This is 100% geared towards agents who are associated with a team. So just keep that in mind, just in case you are a singular agent following along. To start, I'm just going to be logging into Command. I know I previously stated this, but I am going to be doing everything through a Rainmaker's account today. So I'm going to be logging in as a Rainmaker, meaning I have unlimited access to absolutely everything. If you are not set up as the Rainmaker, this is still something that you may have access to. However, there are some things as far as editability on the back end of the team account that you may not have access to. Just want to give you guys a heads up. So to start, I'm just going to log in on Command. And this is, again, this is the portal that's going to be agent.kw.com. And then I'm just using the login credentials. And Connie was nice enough to let me use her team account. So once I am logged into Command, the first thing I want to go over is essentially the features that Rainmakers have access to on the back end of their account. So all of the edits that they can make when setting up the teams, these are going to be great things to kind of recognize where they are, how you guys can change them. So I'm going to start by going over all of that. On the top right-hand corner of your Command account, you're going to see your name. When you click on that, you're going to see essentially your name and then an additional profile. If you're only seeing one profile, that is a very easy way to see that you are not yet set up as a team. If you are not seeing a team is set up, again, this class probably is not for you. You won't have access to anything. If you're thinking about joining a team or starting a team, feel free to follow along. You just won't be able to actually access any of these platforms. To start, what I'm going to do is just click on settings right on that drop down menu. And this is just going to pull up essentially the back end settings of your Command account. And we're just going to start by just going through that so you guys know exactly what you have access to. Once your settings platform loads, you're going to see these additional settings are now available on the left-hand side. The majority of the edits that you guys can make to the actual team account on the back end of your account are going to be right here. We're going to start just by clicking on General Settings, because that's actually going to allow us to pick our default account. So in other words, if you know that you are going to be working primarily out of your team account and you're no longer going to be using your personal command, you can come in here, click on that default account, and actually select which profile is your default. You're not deleting the other one. All it's going to do is when you log into Command, it's going to automatically drop you on whichever profile you have the bubble selected for, which is convenient if you are primarily using your team account. That way, if you select your team account, you log in, you don't have to worry about toggling back and forth anymore. It will just automatically bring you to that account every time. Underneath your default account, you're going to see team management. This is something that only Rainmakers are primarily going to have access to. If you are set up with higher permissions, you'll also have access to this. For example, if you have, I believe it's only unlimited as of right now, some enhanced permissions, you'll have access to see it, but you can't do anything with it. So we're just going to go ahead and click on team management just to show you guys kind of what's coming up. Oh no. Oh, see, famous mistake. You need to make sure that you're selected on your team profile once you click on your team management. So make sure, and if you guys ever confuse these two, the personal one will always have personal in that small font, and the team will always say team whatever, and then your status with the team, buyer, listing agent, Rainmaker, whatever it may be. Once you guys have that team profile selected, sometimes you have to re-click on team management in order for everything to populate. If that's the case, just click on that again and it will refresh it for you. But now you'll see these are all of the agents that Connie has on her team. It's also showing me what their role is, what their permissions are, gives me kind of a brief overview of who's on my team, just in case someone was maybe recently added. This is how I can check to make sure that they're populating, or maybe somebody recently left the team, whatever it may be. This is how we can tell that they are set up, they're ready to go. Permissions are a newer aspect for the team platforms. This was actually launched right before the new year. That being said, if you guys haven't dabbled with this yet, no problem. We broke everything down in the notes that I'll be sending over to you guys later, as well as you also have access to not only edit these, as you can see right here, you see a drop down, but you also have access to actually review them by clicking on permissions. So what I'm going to first do is go through permissions, and then I'm going to show you guys just briefly how to add a guest member, just in case you guys maybe are taking on an admin. But to start, we're going to go over permissions so you know what permissions to give that admin. And again, this is something that Rainmakers will have access to. If you're not set up as the Rainmaker and you're not seeing exactly what I'm seeing, don't panic. It's just because of how your permissions are set up. Once I'm in here, you guys are going to see the basic breakdown of the permission levels. Again, this is super helpful. I also have it all printed out for you guys, attached in the notes, just in case you guys need like a hard copy of it. But this is the brief overview in regards to what each permission is going to allow. Standard is exactly that. It's the standard permission that any agent added to your team is going to be given when they are added. You can adjust that to either be enhanced or unlimited. Enhanced is going to be great for somebody who's handling a lot of your marketing. If you guys maybe have like a marketing lead or some sort of administrative assistant that just needs basic access, but also needs to make adjustments to some of those marketing materials, that's going to be more of the enhanced section. If you have somebody who's doing all of your transactions, all of your marketing, they really need access to everything, that's going to be more your unlimited setup. When you guys click on the full permissions breakdown, and again, I have this all written out if you're not a Rainmaker, so you'll still have access to this. You'll see here, it actually gives you a full interactive chart. So you can actually see exactly what each permission is going to have access to. Obviously, unlimited is exactly that, unlimited. Enhanced is going to give them access to a lot more of like the contacts and marketing. Unlimited is going to give them access to really everything. Permissions, they have back-end access. And then standard, again, is what most agents are going to be using in order to just navigate that team platform. I'll just scroll down just so you guys can see how they broke it down. Smart plans, who can edit the smart plans, designs, campaigns. It breaks everything down for you guys. So you guys have access to essentially just break this down and just decide which permission would work for which agent on your team. They can also vary. If you have an agent who is not comfortable on the technological side and they really just want to stick with standard, you can leave them as standard. It's not going to block them from anything. However, I would just make sure that it's not going to essentially block them from seeing anything that they're going to need access to. And again, I have this all typed out for you guys. I know I usually get a panic at that point. So I'll send that out to you guys as well if you guys dropped your email in the chat. If you guys are watching the recording on YouTube for this class, everything is hyperlinked underneath this video. Right in the bio, I'm going to hyperlink all of my notes. There's about 8 pages, breaks down everything that we're going over. So once you guys have had a chance to just kind of take a peek at those permissions, we're just going to go right back to our all team members. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on add member. You guys don't have to actually click along with this. I just want to show you guys the basics on how to add a guest admin, because this seems to be a very common need for the teams that are joining Keller Williams. So once we click on that add member, you're going to have 2 options, add team member and add guest user. If you guys are having an admin join, you should be adding them as a guest user. If you have somebody who is actually joining your team and they're an active real estate agent, or they're licensed, or your office is recognizing them as essentially staff or an agent, that would be add team member. The only thing is the office already has to have added them to their own platform in order for that to work. My personal recommendation is to touch base with your market center staff, have them recognize that person as a staff member or a licensed real estate agent, and then the MCA will actually add them to the team tool. That tends to cause less issues in the long run, rather than adding them as a team member here. Guest user is going to be great for somebody who's handling some of the minor things with your team. They don't need crazy access to anything, or maybe they're not working remote. Maybe you have a transaction coordinator that's working from another state and won't be in the office. Anything along those lines. That's what's great about the guest user. It can be a temporary situation. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Add Guest. You'll see here that there are 2 available seats for guest users on team accounts. And this is actually per Rainmaker, which is great. So if you guys are on a team that maybe has 2 Rainmakers, you would actually have 4 seats available. You would just need to do 2 of them under one Rainmaker and 2 of them under the other. Once you guys are seeing this populate, you would just add in their first name, their last name, email address. This is whatever email address they want to be using for their command platform, and then password. When you set up their password, what's going to happen is you'll click the agree terms, send request. It's actually going to go over to your Market Center administrator just for them to approve this. Once that's done, within 72 hours, this person is going to get an email at whatever email address you've added here, and it's going to provide them with their username. Their username is going to incorporate the word guest. It's usually like a series of numbers underscore guest. It's an obnoxiously long username, just a heads up. And they'll be using that with whatever password you set up. So make sure that you notate this. Then going from there, again, 72 hours, once that's done and they get that email, they're ready to go. When you come back into this team, and I'm going to cancel this, when you come back into this team section, you'll then see them populating as a guest. It will actually show their guest login right underneath, so you can tell that they're a guest admin or a guest, whatever marketing person that you've added to your team. If you ever need to remove somebody that you've added as a guest, you can click on these three dots and just click on, it will actually give you an actual removal rather than request removal. It will give you an option to remove them. You'll notice here that none of these agents or admins that are added to Connie's team are set up as guests. These have all been added by the Market Center, meaning that in order for someone to be removed, you have to actually request that change. Now, you can do this via this platform, request role change if somebody is now licensed, or request removal if somebody left the team. Or you can also contact your Market Center administrator. It's actually going to be the exact same thing. All that request does is it notifies your Market Center administrator that they need to remove X, Y, and Z, or adjust the role of X, Y, and Z. So it's going to be the exact same process, just a heads up. So now that you guys know where your team management is, we're just going to kind of work our way down these settings just so you guys know where everything is. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on command settings, which is the next one. I'm going to minimize that just to make things a little easier. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on contacts. One thing that we recently noticed, and this is actually very important, you'll notice here that you guys have a contact archive and a database wipe. Contact archive, this will actually depend on which profile you are highlighted on. So in other words, if I click contact archive now, it's going to pull up any contacts that she's archived from the team. If I swap over to the personal account, it's going to pull up any contacts that have been archived on the personal account. That being said, database wipe is right underneath that, which I'm sure any of you have used this before. You can archive all contacts, delete all contacts. You'll notice here that I can still toggle back and forth between profiles. So the assumption would be that if I click archive all contacts right now, it will archive all my team contacts. That is not the case. The archive all contacts and delete all contacts do not communicate with the team platform. So if you guys come in here and you click on archive all contacts and delete all archived contacts to wipe your team database or just to remove those contacts, you're actually wiping your personal database. So make sure that you guys are not using this for the team feature. So just keep that in mind. This is actually something that we recently noticed. If you guys do have to archive contacts from your team platform, completely fine. You can do it manually, and I'm going to show you guys how to manually archive them from contacts in a little bit. But once you guys have archived them, contact archive, make sure you're on the correct profile, and you can manually select them up to 50 at a time. And then you'll see little buttons will appear right here, and you can just permanently delete them, just as a heads up. Underneath that, we have our contacts tags. For here, you're going to see that Rainmakers have access to create Team tags. So if you guys are going to be using team tags on this platform, or if you guys are going to be sharing tags for those team contacts, your Rainmaker does have access to manually create those. They will all sit right on the back end. They are not going to interfere with the personal tags at all. You'll notice that if I toggle back to Connie's personal account, all of her tags are still associated with her personal profile, but she can come in here and actually create these team tags. That being said, I'm sure many of you have already started dabbling with the contact section, which we are going to be diving into today. I'm going to go over lead routing and everything. But if you guys have already started dabbling with the tags for either personal contacts or team contacts, you may have noticed that if you guys mass transfer contacts from your personal database over to the team database, which I'll be showing you guys how to do that as well, you'll notice that any of your personal tags, they're not lost, they're kind of like reorganized. So what happens is it actually makes those tags, your personal tags, legacy tags. They're filterable, you can still search by them, they're still fully functional, they just look a little bit different. If you happen to have them color coded previously, for example, maybe you moved your personal contacts over to that team database and you had past client as purple. Once you move it over to the team database, it's going to show up as that default blue and white or teal and white. It just removes the colors on you, but they are still filterable. They're fully functional, so don't panic, but you will have access to still utilize those. Underneath that, we have our lead sources. This is something that only Rainmakers are going to have access to adjust for the team account. So you'll notice these here, they can come in here, they can adjust lead sources, add some in, create custom lead source. But again, this is something only the Rainmaker is going to have access to. Underneath that, we have custom fields. The custom fields are going to be something, again, only the Rainmaker has access to, but this is a great tool to know that it's here. The custom fields are going to allow you to essentially add that to any contact profile that's been either moved or manually created under the team account. So if you guys are using custom fields for the personal account, I saw one team was using like favorite pie because they were doing a pie giveaway for Thanksgiving. Really cool idea. And they had added that in. So that way, as these agents were reaching out to their leads under the team account, they were putting in whatever pie that contact wanted. Nice and simple, but you guys can actually add this in on the back end. Connie or the Rainmaker can create a custom field. And again, that's going to show up on every single contact profile that's under that team database. Underneath this, we have lead routing. This is one of the most common questions that I get. I'm going to set up essentially like a dummy lead route for you guys right now, just so you can see exactly how that is supposed to be set up. I also have the KWRI article on how to create a lead route, because what it's going to do is it breaks everything down as far as what category each lead route option is going to entail, which I know we get a lot of questions about that. But again, what I'm going to do is just set up a lead route for you guys right now, just to show you how to set up a basic lead route. What a lead route is, this means any lead that's captured by your team platform will automatically be routed to agents on the team. And it depends on how you set that lead route up. This is a phenomenal tool that you guys have access to. It's going to allow you guys to essentially capture any leads that are coming through, making sure that they're getting nurtured, making sure that they're getting out to an agent as soon as possible, just to ensure someone's contacting them. That being said, again, I've gotten panic from Rainmakers. This does not include anybody who is captured by your mobile app or your website. So I understand that a lot of teams are using the Rainmakers website as essentially their overall website. However, if a lead is captured by the Rainmakers website or by the Rainmakers mobile app, it's going to go into the team database and it's not going to be routed through leads. The lead routing option is going to be capturing leads specified by the source, which we're going to be setting up, and I'll show you guys how to do that. But primarily, this is used for like Facebook ads. So if you guys are running a Facebook ad on the Rainmakers account, the system is smart enough to actually grab those leads that are being captured by that landing page and route them through the lead routing section for you. So in other words, just making sure that those leads are getting contacted and that they're not sitting in the back end somewhere. This is a great way to avoid that. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on create route. And as you can see, Connie doesn't have any set up yet. If you guys have already set this up, you can go through this process just to see how it should have been done, because I know a lot of people have not dabbled with this yet. This seems to be a newer feature. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on Create Route. From here, you guys have access to set up a route title. I'm just going to go ahead and call this Facebook leads because that's my plan today. I'm just going to show you guys how to route it by that source. And then for the routing rule, you're going to see that you guys have multiple options. You have random, weighted random, jump ball, round robin, assigned to agent. If you guys hover over the I, it's going to break this down a little bit for you. However, I have this article up and I'll send this out to you guys. This is actually in the notes as well. If you guys scroll down, it gives you the full explanation in regards to what each option is. So random is going to randomly distribute it. In other words, if you guys have 5 agents on your team, it's just going to select a random agent and it's going to send it out to them and they'll have access to claim it. You'll also notice as we're moving on through this lead route, after we select which option we want, we can set up a time limit, we can set up an order depending on which option we select. So it will vary. My recommendation is when you guys have a second to jump in here and just kind of play around with it, select each option and try going through the full lead routing section. You can set up kind of like dummy lead routes and then just delete them. But that's going to be the best way to figure out what each specific section is going to look like. I'm only going to select one today. I'm going to select the most complicated one, which I think is round robin. But just so you guys kind of have an idea as to how this works. Weighted random, you can create a lead distribution, but you can actually select which team member essentially gets that first. Jump the ball. Every team member in the lead route receives the lead at the same time. And it's kind of like first gets it. Whoever claims it first, that's their lead. Round robin, we get questions on this all the time. So round robin allows you to essentially select a list of agents. So again, we're going to pretend you have 5 agents on your team. And if you select John Smith as 1, Sally Smith as 2, and etc., what's going to happen is agent 1 is going to get the lead first every single time. If that first person doesn't accept it, rejects it, or just doesn't accept it within the allotted time frame, it will go to Sally Smith, agent 2. If Sally Smith accepts it, then agent 3 and 4 don't see that lead. The problem with round robin is teams are essentially reaching out to us saying, hey, we're not getting our leads, or agent 3 and 4 are never seeing them. That's because agent 1 and 2 are always grabbing them. If agent 1 and 2 consistently claim every lead that is routed to them, the additional agents are not going to see those leads. I hope that makes sense. And if you guys have questions on that, drop it in the chat and I can address it. But just as far as how this breaks down, I want to make sure that you guys know, whichever section that you guys are selecting, is how those leads are going to be routed to your agents and in what order. So again, like I said, I'm going to go ahead with round robin just so you guys can see how that would be set up. But if you guys want to dabble with any of these, let me send this over to you guys too. I'll drop it in the chat. This is also in the notes too, so don't panic. You don't have to bookmark that. Send that. And then I'm just going to jump back to my command and I'm just going to select round robin. For here, you guys can select your route schedule. You guys can select all day, every day. If you guys are running ads and you want leads to be captured, maybe not on weekends, or you don't want them to be routed on weekends, you guys can select specific days. You can also come in here and maybe do one route for some days, one route for another day. I've seen teams either go in here and do like a specific route for Mondays, one for Tuesdays, one for Wednesdays. Whatever works for you guys, by all means, go for it. For select times, you guys can do custom. So in other words, if you don't want leads to be going out at midnight, by all means, you guys can select this. So in other words, this means that leads are only going to go out from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. In between that time, what will happen is command will essentially hang on to them and then route them once you guys are within that time frame. This is very important to recognize as well, because if you guys do have it set up as all times and poor John Smith is getting his lead at 1 a.m. and you guys set a, 4-hour cap, unless he's waking up at 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., he's not going to see that lead. Underneath, you have your claim deadline. You guys can set this to a day. You guys can set it to hours. You guys can set it 3 minutes, whatever you guys want. I'm going to set this to be, remove that, and I'm just going to do 4 hours and apparently 30 seconds. Let's remove that down to 1. 0. So I have this set as just 4 hours. And again, you guys can do whatever works for you. I just want to kind of go over the basics so you guys can see what it looks like. From here, you guys can actually select the lead source. This is going to be huge because this is going to be what depicts this contact as not only being a lead, but it's going to be how your lead routing section is going to capture that lead and actually recognize it as being a lead in order to route it back out to your agents. So for lead source, I'm going to pull up Facebook ad lead. And this means that leads that are captured by Facebook ads run through the command platform. It's going to snag them and it's going to route them round robin to the agents on the team. And you guys can select other lead sources. If you guys use, I've seen like Boomtown used, I've seen other lead sources that you guys have either feeding over to the platform, synced with the platform. You can use those as well. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click on next. From here, now I can actually organize my agents. So Rainmaker is not going to show up as an option. However, you'll see here, I can just select them, who is going to be involved in this. We can select all agents if you guys want all agents in here. You guys can also number them. So in other words, I want to make sure they're in not chronological, but 4, 5, 6. So in other words, what this means, and Connie is showing up as an agent. She's also licensed, so she does practice real estate. So in other words, this means that all leads are going to go to Connie first. If Connie doesn't claim them or she takes longer than that 4 hours, it's going to go to Boyce. If Boyce takes longer than 4 hours or rejects the lead, they do have access to reject the lead as well if it's something that maybe they don't regularly handle or whatever it may be. Then it's going to go down to Kathleen, etc. So I hope that makes sense. If you guys have questions, let us know and we can go over this with you. But as far as lead routing is set up, again, this is the round robin option. It allows you to essentially, as awful as it sounds, you pick a favorite and it goes to that person every single time. So if you have somebody who is maybe primarily handling leads for Facebook ads, this is perfect. So maybe it's their listing and you want to set up the Facebook ads for that listing coming over to this. You would select them as the primary agent, whatever it may be. But that's how you guys can essentially categorize those agents. And then you just click on save. And then that will populate here. You guys have 100% access to either disable it. You guys can hide it for a little bit, or it completely removes it on you. Or if I had just clicked on the 3 dots on the right-hand side, you guys can actually pause it and or edit it. So in other words, maybe you guys had somebody leave your team or someone had said, hey, I'm getting so many leads, I need it adjusted. You guys have 100% access to come in here and edit that at any point in time. Nothing is locked in stone, which is great. That should be showing paused. Perfect. So when I go in paused, you'll see edit, duplicate, archive. So if you guys want to do the exact same thing, maybe for a different source, you can duplicate it and then go in and edit the duplicate one. So you guys can come in here. My recommendation is play around with this. If you are setting up a lead route and you're not sure if you want it to actually be live, I would pause it before actually logging out of your command account for the day, just to make sure that leads are not going haywire once you log off. But that's essentially lead routing. We're going to go into it in a little bit more in depth once we get into the contact section, but I just want to finish up under settings. The next section is going to be opportunity settings, which is right underneath. This is going to be primarily the same for everybody. One of the big differences for teams, I'm going to minimize this because it starts to get out of control. I'll minimize that one. Underneath opportunity settings, you guys are going to see all of pretty much the basic stuff that every agent is going to have access to, but then you'll see team permissions. Team permissions set up under opportunity settings is exactly what it sounds like. It's you allowing the agents on your team to create personal opportunities outside of the team opportunities. If you ever have a situation where an agent is unable to create opportunities at all, we've noticed that toggling yes on and then toggling it back to no should actually trigger them to be able to create those team permissions or team opportunities. That being said, again, if you guys haven't dabbled with this yet, just to kind of give you a brief overview, with teams, you have your opportunity section, which we will be going into. You have access to create those opportunities under the team tab, meaning that essentially they're under the team profile. That being said, you'll notice here the Rainmaker does have access to allow all team members to create private opportunities. This just means if you have deals that are going outside of the team, or maybe you're still finishing up deals outside of the team when you join the team, or you're in the process of leaving the team, whatever it may be, they can actually manually select you, meaning that you'll have access to create those private personal opportunities under only your name, not associated with the team. But again, if you have an agent on the team and you have no selected and nobody has access to create those private opportunities, however, this agent also can't create a team opportunity, toggling yes and then back to no usually triggers that for you guys. And I can't remember which one she had. I'll have to go back and touch base with her. And then underneath your team permissions, we have reporting. I'm going to minimize that. Reporting as of right now, and I'll send you guys the article. Soon, you guys are going to have access to actually check the reports for your lead routing, see who's capturing them, who's claiming them. As of right now, it looks like they're actually running updates on it because it's not populating. But I do have an article that I'll drop in the notes. So if you guys did drop your email in the chat, I'll make sure you guys get a copy of it. And again, if you guys are watching the recording, it's all in my notes. We have smart plans. This is huge. If you are a part of a team and you're trying to designate smart plans, you're trying to set up smart plans with those contacts that are now in your team database, this is going to be huge for your marketing platform. So again, only Rainmakers can see this, so don't panic, but this is something great to know just in case you guys are having an issue with this. Once I click on designated agents, you guys are going to see that you guys have tasks, email, SMS, and then the default Rainmaker. For tasks, what you're doing when you select either contact assignee or Rainmaker, you're actually delegating who the tasks are going to be assigned to when you set up a smart plan. Smart plans, think of them as drip campaigns. They're interactive drip campaigns. They'll do everything from send a mass email to people who have been added to that smart plan, a mass text, set up a task for either the agent or the client. They're honestly phenomenal. So you guys have full access to edit those and create team associated ones. The only thing is you want to make sure you know how they are set up. So as of right now, Connie has it set up so contact assignees are set up with tasks. However, Rainmaker is set up for both email and SMS. What that means is if an agent on her team adds contacts to the team platform and they go ahead and add their contacts to a team smart plan, those smart plans, those emails and those text messages are going to come from Connie. They're not going to come from the assigned agent. So in other words, Connie has John Smith on her team. John Smith adds a lead that he met at the grocery store looking to buy a property to a smart plan. That smart plan is going to come from Connie. So just keep that in mind because it's also going to be using the Rainmaker's accounts, meaning if email is set up, it's going to be using the Rainmaker's command mail allowance. It's going to show with the Rainmaker's footer. It's going to show with the Rainmaker's email. The reply email is going to be the Rainmaker's email. It's going to be completely branded with the Rainmaker information. Same thing with SMS. If you guys are sending out mass text messages, it's going to come from the Rainmaker's Twilio credits. It's going to utilize their Twilio number and it's going to come branded as them. So just keep that in mind when you're setting this up. Contact assignee means that it's going to essentially come from the agent's command mail. It's going to be branded with their footer, their information. Same thing with Twilio. You do need to make sure that if you are using contact assignee, for SMS or MMS, you want to make sure that your teammates do have their own Twilio account set up under their command settings. We have a tip video on that, and it's included in the notes just in case you don't have that yet. But this is something you'll want to make sure is set up because they will have their own designated Twilio phone number, and they'll obviously also have their own credits. So just something to keep in mind. Again, question we get very regularly. And then you'll also see Rainmaker will act as default if the contact is team owned. That's automatic. So in other words, if there is a lead that maybe isn't assigned or claimed or whatever it may be, and you guys add them on a smart plan just to see where their head is at as far as real estate goes, by default, it's going to come from the Rainmaker. Underneath that, we have our connect settings, which I just want to go over really quick. So when we click on our marketing profile, which I'm sure most of you guys have already set up because this essentially feeds everything in your command platform, you're going to notice here that it essentially just has all of our contact information. So you'll see headshot. That does need to be cropped to be a square in order for it to show up properly. If you're seeing your headshot and it looks a little mushed, usually it's because it was not cropped to be a square prior. We have our logo. This will autocorrect. So this will actually show up correctly on all platforms, even if it looks mushed here. The systems and the marketing platforms are smart enough to actually stretch that out and have it show up correctly. So don't panic about the logo. Headshot, you do want to crop that as a square. For first name and last name, you'll notice here that Connie and Lisha are essentially, they're not both Rainmakers, but they're both the primary agents on the team. So the way that they're setting this up is they actually have Connie Yates, her first name, and then Lisha Maxwell as the last name. That way on all of the marketing, all the branding, everything is going to have first name and last name of both of the two head agents. This is fantastic if you do happen to have two Rainmakers, but you're primarily functioning out of one Rainmaker account. It's going to allow you guys to actually promote both of those names. If you guys are both set up as Rainmakers, you would essentially be able to set up your smart plans under your own account. And it kind of, the easiest way to explain this, and if you guys are in a situation where you have two Rainmakers and you guys get stuck, shoot us an email. Again, my name's Brittany. If you address it to Brittany in Teams, they'll send it over to me. But if you guys do have two Rainmakers and you're trying to set up your marketing, if you guys are running marketing out of your own accounts, you would be better off to just have your information populating here with your team information, but it would be your contact information, your first and last name. This team actually functions pretty much entirely out of Connie's account. The other Rainmaker isn't really logging into command too much. Connie takes care of most of their marketing. So from a marketing standpoint, logically, it makes more sense to have both of their names here. That way, both of them are being recognized. So it's kind of like a case by case basis. Whatever works for you guys, by all means. And of course, if you guys get stuck or you guys hit a corner, let us know and we're happy to take a look at your account and see what the best route would be for you guys personally. You see that they have their agent license number. Where they do have both of them populating here, my personal recommendation would be to have both of their license numbers here. Then they have their team name, professional job title, any designations that they've acquired, bio. This is her personal bio here specifically, but if you guys do have like a team bio that you want everywhere, maybe you're avoiding the personal bio, completely fine. You would populate that here. And I'm going over this really quickly. I apologize because there's so much I still want to go over and we're already pretty far in. We also have our mobile number. You'll notice here that they do have both mobile numbers populating, and that will populate as such on most marketing. When I say most marketing, the custom website pages, unfortunately, will not allow you to have this format. They only allow numbers and they only allow it to be 10 digits as of right now. You can't even have the one. So that being said, when they go to create any custom website pages, the system's just going to say, hey, your phone number it's not valid. Can you adjust it? Nice and simple. And in that case, they would just select whichever mobile number they want on that specific page. Office number, that's the market center number. We have email and website. Email, you guys are essentially whatever email you guys are using, that's what you want there. It does not have to be the Keller Williams email, but if you're using your Keller Williams email to correspond with clients, that's what you would want to populate there. For the website, this is something that she actually doesn't have set up right now. For your website, you'll see that she has Yates Maxwell Properties. In order to make sure that this populates correctly on all platforms, you do want to make sure that it's hyperlinked. So hers would be HTTP. So in other words, in order for this to show up, I'm just going to add this in for her. So for hers, she has a custom URL. I just added HTTP semicolon // and then her custom URL. If you guys are using the actual command URL, you'll notice that it is the HTTPS rather than HTTP. You can literally copy the URL and paste it right in here. By having that HTTP or HTTPS, that makes it clickable for your clients, which is huge. So if they come across your agent profile on your Market Center website, or they download your mobile app or whatever it may be, any of your marketing materials that go out with your website, it's going to automatically make that clickable for them. So they don't have to copy and paste it into a browser like what I just did. So it's going to make that clickable automatically with either the HTTP or HTTPS. Again, if you guys are using .kw.com as your URL, by default, it will be HTTPS because those are all secure. If you did purchase a custom domain like Connie did, there is a chance that it will be HTTPS. However, most of those are HTTP unless you purchase that secure certificate by the domain provider. Sorry, that was a lot of information. But if you guys ever have questions on that, just let us know and we can make sure it's set up properly for you. Underneath that is all the brokerage information. We have our Market Center logo. If your Market Center doesn't have a specific logo, the regular KW logo is totally fine. Right-hand side is all the brokerage information, name, phone number, physical street address, city, state, zip, and brokerage license number if you have it. Underneath that is compliance. We have the compliance text. A lot of agents have each Keller Williams office independently owned and operated. You can add that in. However, you do not have to because it's actually a standard. So all of your Keller Williams marketing platforms will actually have that as a default. So if you don't have that populating there, don't panic. But you can add that in. I've also seen some people add in their states that they're licensed in, or if your Market Center or board has specific text that they want on your marketing for compliance, that's where you can add this. And this will actually go everywhere, which is great. You'll never have to update it. Once you plug it in here and save it, every piece of marketing that comes out of command is automatically going to be stamped with that text. Same thing with the legal footer links. If you guys are licensed in Texas, I'm sure you're familiar with the IABS information. You guys need your consumer protection notice and your information about brokerage services on everything. Or if you guys, New York also has the fair housing, I believe, but that is now automatically added to everything. But if you guys have a PDF that you need added for compliance, you guys can actually convert that PDF to a URL and then give it a name, and then it will save it and literally, again, stamp it on every single piece of marketing you use in command. So this is great to know. Legal footer images show up super, super small, but they are compliant. So if you guys are in a situation where you have a logo or an icon that needs to be added to all of your footers, great place to add that. Maine real estate agents do have the Maine IDX logo, and the equal housing logo needs to be added to everything. Outside of that, I have yet to see a state or board that requires that. A lot of agents use this for their designation logos. So if you guys have acquired additional designations, this is a great way to market those. So if you guys have that logo, you can add those in here. Again, they show up super tiny, but it's just another way for you guys to just promote and say that you guys have acquired those. Underneath this, we have our social platforms. For this section specifically, I recommend that you use your team profiles if you are functioning as a team, or better yet, if you're the Rainmaker account. If you do have, not personal, but if you have a personal business page that you want to add here, that's also fine. I would not recommend adding personal URLs. Keep in mind, this again is going to be stamped on every single piece of marketing. So you do want to make sure that it's real estate related or real estate specific, because all of your clients are going to see this. So for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, make sure it's a business page. YouTube, make sure that it's geared towards real estate or some sort of side of your business. LinkedIn, really every page that you guys have is going to be business related. So your regular LinkedIn URL is fine. Then we have our Facebook and Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel Ads and Google Analytics. Both of these are going to help you track the traffic coming through your Facebook ads, run through command, and your command website. If you guys haven't set those up, I do recommend it. We do have tip videos on both, which will be sent out with the notes. Again, if you guys are watching the recording, click on the link below the video. All the notes are there. It's about 8 pages. And then last but not least on the marketing profile, we have the branded app. One thing I do recommend for agents that are associated with the team, touch base with each other in regards to whose app you guys are going to be promoting. A lot of teams are using their own apps in order to capture their own leads. If that's the case, you want to make sure that this URL is branded to you. You can copy it, paste it in a new browser, make sure it has your information. If you guys are all sharing one app, or if you're a spouse team and you're working with just one app, completely fine. Just make sure that's the one that's showing here. If you guys made any tweaks, just make sure you're clicking on save. Last but not least, just make sure that the top right-hand corner, that needs to be toggled to being green. If you're seeing that as gray, what that means is all of the information you guys have populating on your marketing profile is not being shared with your command platforms. So making sure that that is populating as green is just allowing all of those command platforms, your smart plans, your email campaigns, your website, your mobile app, all of that to actually use this information and help with branding. And if this was previously gray and you just toggle it, a lot of this does take about 72 hours to sync, so don't panic. But if you don't see anything update within 72 hours, let us know. Once you guys have done that, last but not least, oh, they removed it. I'm going to jump right into the contact section. So once you guys have saved this, you've made sure that this is populating as green. We are now done with settings finally. And we're just going to go over to contacts really quick, just so I can show you some basic stuff in the contact section for team contacts. And then hopefully we will have time and I can go over opportunities with you guys really quick as well. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and click on contacts. And if you guys ever question which one is which, if you click on the white KW, it's going to allow you guys to just see what you're about to click on. And we may go a little bit over. So again, if you guys need to log off, just drop your email in the chat and I'll get this over to you guys. So once I pull up my contact section, one of the big things that I just kind of want to go over with you guys is A, going to be the lead pool, and B, how to just navigate contacts from your personal account to your team account, how to check who it's assigned to, and all of that information, because I know that that is a huge question because it's one of the biggest updates with this big update with the teams, the permissions and everything. So again, I'm on a Rainmakers account right now, but anybody on a team should have access to this. First thing you guys always want to check when you guys come into contacts, especially if you're working on the team platform, make sure you have the team profile selected. So again, you guys can still toggle back and forth. If you did set up your default profile earlier in the beginning of class to your team profile, it should have automatically dropped you on your team contacts. Pretty cool. But if you did not and you opted to keep your personal profile, completely fine. Just make sure you guys swap over to your team profile now. Once you guys are on that team profile on your contact section, you guys are going to see lead pool. If we click on lead pool, what this is going to do is pull up any leads that were captured by the team and not routed. So in other words, Connie didn't have a lead route set up and this lead was captured. It was actually mine. So this lead was captured and it's just populating in lead pool ready to go. Any lead that is routed out to your agents, and say it goes through round robin and none of your agents claim it or they all miss the deadline, it's going to automatically populate in lead pool. Once it's in lead pool, you can either assign it out, you can send to lead pool, it's already in lead pool, but you can assign it out to any agents on your team. You can also come in here, you can edit it, you can open up the lead, you guys can click around and see what's going on with it. It tells you exactly who owns it. This is just a great thing to understand that leads are funneling into that lead pool section. So my personal recommendation is whether you guys want to have somebody checking it at a certain time of the day, or you want to have someone check it one day a week, or each day, an agent has a different day that they need to go in there and check it. But if you guys are not using lead routing, you may have leads stacking up in lead pool. So make sure you guys are checking that. That is very important. Once you guys do click on that team profile, it's going to give you all the information you need in regards to that contact. So you're going to see where it was captured, KW landing page. You have the account that it's under. It's just letting you know that this is essentially under the team profile. It's telling you that the owner is Connie. I can release ownership because I'm logged in as Connie. However, if you are logged in as an agent, you cannot release ownership. You'll also notice that it's unassigned. So as Connie, I can also click here and just click on claim contact. And it will allow me to essentially claim that lead. That being said, you also have access to add collaborators now. This is kind of cool. And I'm going to try and go over this as best I can. If you guys have questions, let us know. Collaborators are going to be pretty much the exact same. If you guys have ever assigned anybody onto like an opportunity, maybe you need another set of eyes, or you have somebody who maybe you're kind of tag teaming with for a specific client. They're looking for properties. They need to go out X, Y, and Z, or whatever it may be. You can actually add a collaborator onto this profile and they'll have access to all of your notes. They can also add them to smart plans. They can set up tasks. They'll essentially have full access to this contact profile. Because one of the things you will notice when you have a little bit of time to go over those permissions, standard permissions are only going to give agents access to their own contacts that they have personally moved from their personal profile to the team profile, that they have personally imported into the team profile and left themselves as the owner or the assignee, or contacts that have been assigned to or claimed by them. Meaning, Connie's the Rainmaker. She kind of has like Big Brother access. She can see everything. But as far as her agents on her team, the way that it's set up is if she then assigns this to John Smith, this will actually show up in John Smith's database as long as he's on that team profile. It's still owned by the team. So if John Smith leaves the team, what's going to happen is this lead's going to go back to lead pool. Just as a heads up. So if you guys are using the assigning and you guys are using lead routing and you guys have somebody leave the team, as long as it's owned by the team, you're not losing that lead. When that agent leaves that team, that lead is going to come right back to the team. It's just going to sit in lead pool. So keep that in mind if you did recently have an agent leave your team, and keep an eye on lead pool. As far as collaborator goes, if you guys need somebody to have consistent access to a contact that maybe they're not assigned to, you can go ahead and add them as a collaborator. Just got a question about rainmakers. If there are two rainmakers, always set each other as collaborators? No. If you actually have rainmaker status, you have Big Brother status by default. Rainmakers can see every single contact in the team database, period. Doesn't matter if it's assigned to them, doesn't matter if it's not owned by them, they'll have access to see it because it's essentially sitting under that team account. They won't be able to delete it. So again, that's a huge thing that we get questions on. So in other words, again, and I apologize, I'm talking. There's no way for me to physically show some of this stuff, so I apologize. If you guys have contacts under your personal account, say you have 50 contacts that you imported last summer, and now you want those in the team platform because you're functioning as a team, you want to set them up on marketing, you can actually move those over. And I'll show you guys how to do that really quick. I'll show you guys where it is. I can't actually move her contacts around on her, but I'll show you guys how it actually looks. So if I go back to her personal account, let me pull up team class. She doesn't actually have one set up here. Perfect. So if I come in here and say I'm on Connie's personal account right now, I have these 5 leads that I captured over the summer. I want to move them to the team account so I can set them up on team marketing. I want to set them up on a team smart plan, or I have an opportunity, whatever it may be. I can actually come in here, select my contacts. You can select one at a time. You can select them in bulk. You can actually select them up to 500. So you'll see where you guys can do show. If you guys select 500 and then select the checkbox, it will select up to 500 at a time. Kind of cool. You can then come in here and click on bulk action. scroll all the way down. It's literally nestled as the last possible option. So some agents have missed it, but if you scroll all the way down, you'll see change account. And when I click on that, it then allows me to move these contacts over to Yates and Maxwell properties. What that means is these contacts are just going to populate under the team database. Ownership, not going to change. And I'll actually, let me transfer. I'll move my little test one over. Change account, Yates and Maxwell. And then we'll pull this up in the team one just so you guys can see it. So if I just move that contact over, it does take a second to recognize it, so don't panic. But let me pull this. And it's populating here now. So now when I click on that, it's showing up as unassigned. I'm actually also linked to her mobile app, I believe, on here, but it does take a second to refresh. Again, don't panic. If you guys are moving contacts from a personal account to a team account, it does take a second to recognize it. Sometimes refreshing it helps. Just give it a minute or two, and then they'll all show up for you. But once you guys actually open that contact that you've moved over to the team account, you'll see that the owner is still Connie. I, logged in as Connie, can release that ownership. If this was owned by, say, Leah, who is a part of her team, I cannot release ownership from that. So again, if you guys are sharing your contacts from your personal account, you guys have 50 leads that you personally captured, or you have friends and family that you imported into your personal account, and you move them over to the team account, you would essentially still own those. Your Rainmaker cannot undo that, because we've had a lot of questions in regards to, okay, if I move my contacts from my personal account, am I giving those to the team? Not at all. You still own them. They're still your contacts. You still have 100% editability. All it means is that those contacts are now eligible for team opportunities. In order for you guys to create an opportunity under the team, the contact profile does need to be under the team profile. And it also allows you to start adding them on team marketing, so you guys have access to those team smart plans. One thing to keep in mind, if you are moving your personal contacts over to the team profile, you will no longer have access to email campaigns. So in other words, the actual campaigns, if you guys go to set up an email, it will not allow you to use email campaigns, and it will also block you from sending mass text messages. You'll be able to use smart plans, which essentially do both of those things, but you just can't manually send out like one email or manually send out one mass text message without setting it up as a smart plan once you move them over to the team profile. So just something to keep in mind. But as far as ownership, that won't change. So don't worry, you're not giving up ownership. As far as releasing ownership, you cannot release ownership in bulk from what we have seen thus far. I just saw a question come through about that. There is no way to release ownership because that would essentially be taking somebody else's contacts and removing their ownership. So there is no way to do that. What you can do is, if the Rainmaker has, say, a list of contacts that they know wants to be added to the team, and they don't really want them to be, owned by, or not essentially owned by them, but they don't need to have any relation to those contacts, what you can do is mass import them under the Rainmaker's account under the team. That is an option. But if you guys have contacts that another agent has moved into the team account, no, you cannot release ownership. Only that agent can release ownership to those, and it has to be done manually. So keep that in mind. Another question. As a Rainmaker, you cannot see the personal contacts of team members. Correct. So in other words, once you move, and I'm going to jump back into my regular team contacts really quick. So these are all contacts that have been, once they load, have been moved into the team account. And these are the ones that I can essentially see. Filter this. These have been added into the team account. I can see these. As a Rainmaker, Rainmakers can see any team member's account. So you'll see like Connie, Lisha, Shirley, Leah. These are all contacts that have been shared with the team. So you'll notice she hasn't shared any with the team yet. Shirley, I don't think anybody has, to be honest with you. Oh, Lisha might have. But what will happen is, as you share them with the team, the Rainmaker can see them, not when they're under your personal profile. So if they're remaining under your personal profile, nobody else has access to them. Those are your personal contacts. So that's completely fine. As far as collaborators, you do not have to add a Rainmaker as a collaborator to anything. Think of a Rainmaker, and I know that this is terrible, but the best way to explain it is that they essentially have Big Brother access. They can see everything, so adding them as a collaborator on really anything is very redundant because they're going to have access to it anyways. Say if you are a newer agent on the team, you're just jumping into real estate, or one of the main reasons why I've seen this is if you guys have like a marketing person on your team or someone who's just maybe a little bit more advanced in the marketing sections, what you can do is add them as a collaborator on a contact and maybe tag them as like needs marketing. They can then go into their own database, filter under the team platform as like needs marketing as the tag, and they'll be able to see all of the people that they need to set up marketing for. So that's a great way of adding somebody as a collaborator, is if they have limited permissions, it will allow them to see that contact profile and interact with that contact profile as they see fit. Let's see. So if you guys do import, and I'll show you guys what it looks like now too, because this is also very important if you guys are importing contacts really quick. I'm under the team platform. Again, I'm logged in as the Rainmaker as well. But if I wanted to import a list of contacts into the team database, I can go ahead and click on import, and you'll see my default option, contact owner, is the team. That doesn't have to stay like that. I can adjust that. So I can go ahead and click on Lisha. I can scroll down and click on the other agents. Let me zoom. It's not going to let me see the bottom agent, unfortunately. It's probably just the view that I've set up so you guys can see everything, sorry. But if you guys do come in here, you can adjust who will actually own that contact. If you guys do have contacts that you're importing as the team, you can select on the team, and then you can also assign them. If you are importing contacts into the team and you are an agent on the team, personal recommendation would be to label yourself as the owner, and then by default, it will make you as the contact assignee as well. If you import contacts into the team platform, and this is importing, not moving. If you are importing contacts into the team platform and you select the team name as the owner and yourself as the assignee, you cannot remove those contacts. Only the Rainmaker will have access to do that. You'll still have access to edit the profile because it's assigned to you, but you will not have access to remove those contacts. If you're importing the contacts and you label yourself as the owner, not only will it automatically add you as the assignee, and if those are your personal contacts, that would be the best route, but you're going to be able to export them. You'll be able to move them back to your personal account if you need to, for marketing or whatever it may be. And it will also allow you, if for some reason you happen to leave the team, if you are the owner, those contacts will come with you. Once you're removed from the team tool, it will actually divert all of the contacts that are owned by you back to your personal database once those team functions disappear. They'll essentially just be moved from the team profile right over to your personal profile. So just keep that in mind as well. When exporting, this is also another huge question that we get in contacts. When exporting, you'll see now when you have a team platform, you have a lot of options. You have options to export all team contacts and export all owned contacts. Exporting all owned contacts is exactly that. You're going to export contacts that you own. Exporting all team contacts, the Rainmaker can export team owned contacts. And from what we've seen, agents, depending on their permissions, can export contacts that are essentially they've claimed and also assigned. So in other words, if it's still owned by the team, they're not able to export them. But if they've claimed it and it's been assigned to them, so in other words, there's really no link to the team anymore, then they can export team contacts. Just keep that in mind. My recommendation, if you guys are having trouble with exporting contacts from a team profile, by all means, shoot us an email and we can export them for you just to make sure that everything's being essentially pulled out of the account accordingly, especially if you guys are setting up like a separate mailing label or you guys just need a copy of them for marketing, whatever it may be. But you guys do have access to export those. Let me see, pull back up all. Last but not least, I do just kind of want to dabble on the opportunity section really quick. Let me pull this up. So for opportunities, if you guys have not yet set up a team opportunity, if you guys are a brand new team, this might be new to you. But if you guys jump into opportunities, I'm going to do everything from opportunities instead of contacts just to make it a little bit easier. So I'm just going to click on my opportunity section. Once this section loads, again, you always want to make sure that you're on your team profile if you guys are looking to create an opportunity, especially under the team. Connie does have it set up so she can obviously create personal opportunities as well. Many agents, if you're set up on a team, you're only going to see the team as an option, which is completely fine. It just means those transactions are going to be run through the team platform. Two things to keep in mind when starting a team opportunity. A, you're going to have to make sure that the contact you're creating the opportunity for has been moved or added to the team profile. That's going to be the first thing. Second thing, you always, always, always need to make sure that you are assigning yourself to the opportunity when you're creating it. And I'm going to go through that now, but I just want to make sure I say that now so you guys have a heads up. I'm going to go ahead and just create a dummy opportunity. You guys can follow along, but you don't have to. I'm just going to go ahead and click on create opportunity. And you'll see here, I have Market Center. By default, pulls my team, which is great. Listing, buyer, landlord, tenant. I'm going to leave it as listing. Owner. This is something we get a lot of questions on. When you're creating a team opportunity, the owner is always going to be the Rainmaker. So you're always going to see that populating there. Client, I'm going to go ahead and select myself. Been here a couple times. And then underneath that, we have our opportunity name. You'll notice that when I typed this in, all three of these profiles are under the team. I've added all of them into the team platform. So as long as they're under the team database, this will populate. And then I'm just going to put team class so I know to delete this on her. Don't want phantom opportunities showing up on her account for her. So I have my opportunity name. I can then add in custom tags if I want. If you guys are using tags, they are great to help organize everything. I do have notes on that on the team platform as well. And then as far as estimated close date, if you guys already have that, you can plug it in. Estimated listing price, commission rate, I'm just going to put 6%. And then cultivate, I'm going to leave these as is, but if you guys have not yet dabbled with opportunities, there's so many options for you guys. We have an entire class that literally goes over DocuSign and opportunities. If you guys need it, let us know and we can shoot it out to you. The overall setup of opportunities is going to be pretty standard. The one thing that teams want to make sure is that they're using the assignees section. So once you guys have selected your phase, your opportunity stage, you'll notice that you have an option for assignees below. It should be automatically assigning you, meaning if you're an admin, a transaction coordinator, whatever it may be, if you're creating this opportunity, you will be assigned to it. Obviously, if you're an unlicensed admin and you're creating the opportunity, or you're the transaction coordinator and you're creating the opportunity, you would want to assign the agent as well. Otherwise, their opportunity, they're not going to have access to it. Only Rainmakers actually have access to all team opportunities. Outside of the Rainmaker status, you will need to be assigned. It does not matter on your permission. You need to assign that person. So what I'm going to do is assign Leah because I'm actually logged into her account in the background. So I'm going to pull that up just to show you guys what this looks like. But I'm going to go ahead, I'll assign Leah, and then I'm just going to click on create. Once you guys click on create, it does automatically bring you into details. From here, you guys can make any adjustments that you need to down the line, which is great. But what I want to jump into is I'm just going to click on the top right-hand corner. And again, if you guys haven't dabbled with this yet, don't panic. We have notes on exactly how to do this as well. But this is actually a checklist, which is really cool for teams who are going to maybe have multiple hands in the opportunity. This is going to allow you guys to actually designate roles, designate tasks, what needs to be done. You guys can actually organize all of this, which is, again, very cool. It's going to allow you guys to assign everything out. It will prompt them and go from there. So all I'm going to do is just click on this. These are already set up, and I'll show you guys where to set these up as well. But I can go ahead and just click on, let's do text greet. Nope, I don't want to complete it. I want to assign it. So all I'm going to do is click on assign. I'll assign it to Leah. If you assign this and you don't set a due date, it's actually not going to assign it. So this is very important. If you are assigning a task, you want to make sure we'll set the due date as Friday. I'm just going to click OK. Once I have my due date, I can actually go ahead and just close it. And what's going to happen is it's actually going to notify Leah right within this opportunity, and it's going to let her know that she has to get that taken care of by January 29th. So I'm going to close this out. The other thing that teams generally use is going to be the discussion. You guys also have client updates. This is actually to update the actual client, which is really cool. We do have notes on that as well, which I can shoot over to you guys in the team notes. But I would recommend playing around with that with a test contact. Don't play around with this if you're actually using a valid opportunity. Set yourself up as kind of like a dummy contact, and then use the client updates. That way you can see how they interact with the client themselves. Yes, and if you guys did drop your email in here, I know we're a little bit over, I apologize. If you guys did drop your email in the chat, I'll get that over to you guys at the end of today, the recording as well as the notes that I have. So I apologize, this is going a little bit over. But again, client updates, dabble with that, create yourself as a dummy contact, and you can kind of play around with that and just see if there's something that you guys would be interested in using as a team. They're really cool. Discussion. Discussion is between people on the team. So if you guys click on discussion, we can go ahead and just create it. And it's just going to pull up, think of it as kind of like an instant messenger, which is kind of cool. So I can enter my message and just be like, hey, sent through text for op. And then I can do at, as long as you type in the at symbol, start typing in their name, and it essentially tags them. Then I can just click send. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to tag Leah. Again, very cool. It's literally an interactive chat platform for your opportunities. Great way to leave notes, great way to just keep things in mind. If Leah does reply, and we're going to jump into Leah's account in a second, but if Leah does reply, it will actually notify in the discussion, and it will also notify via the bell. The bell is about a 20-minute turnaround, we've noticed. It's usually 20 to 30 minutes for a notification to come through, but it should show up in the bell. If you guys are not seeing that, just let us know and we can take a look. But once you guys have done that, the agent will essentially get notification of that on their account. And I'm going to pull up Leah's account. I'm logged in right in the background. And I'm just going to refresh her page. And she has a new notification. And it has our message, our discussion right here. So you'll see it just sends it through. I'm just going to go ahead and click it. And what it will do is it's going to bring up that entire opportunity. And again, she can see this opportunity because I assigned her, but she'll also have access to the discussion. She'll also be able to come in here and she can see everything that's been assigned, whatever it may be. She can come in here and she can complete it. Nice and simple. Client update, done. All set. And then I'll do close. And then you'll see here how she is assigned to it. She has access to it. And what I'll do just to show you guys that she does have full access, I'm just going to refresh, just go back to normal opportunities. And I'm just going to click on listings and cultivate, which is where this one would populate. And you'll see here. So say if I forgot to assign her, or actually, I'll just unassign her really quick so you guys can see what will happen. I'm going to remove her from an assignee. So if I forgot to assign her to this opportunity, you already notice I went from 1 to nothing. It no longer shows up on my pipeline. I no longer have access to that opportunity. I can see it if I click on opportunities and all opportunities. I will be able to pull it up by opportunity. Oh, it's not even letting me do that. She should have access to pull it up by opportunity name still, as long as we're under, oh, you know what? We're under our personal account. Always make sure that you guys select the team account. That throws me off still. And once I click on all opportunities, oh, it's still not giving her access. So that must be based on your permissions as well. I thought she was set up with unlimited permissions. I don't think she is anymore. So make sure that's actually that's going to show you guys as far as making sure that you assign an agent. So again, if you guys are a transaction coordinator, assigning that person, and you can do it after the fact. So if I add her in right now, it will just essentially add that right to her opportunity pipeline, which is great. So if you guys did forget to assign somebody, or if there's a transaction that's been going on for a long time and you guys are just now using these new updates, just go in, you can update it. This has to be done through the Rainmakers account, but once you guys pull up that opportunity, you guys can assign whoever's working on it. I can go back to opportunities and I have my 2 back. And now it shows up. So you guys will still have full access to that. Just keep that in mind. The last thing I want to go over within opportunities before letting you guys go, if we just jump back to normal opportunities really quick, just clicking on that handshake. And I'm going to go ahead and just open up Cultivate. You'll notice on the top right-hand corner, we have Edit Stages. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. All of those stages that we were looking at previously, where we could assign Leah and go over all of that, meet acquaintance, whatever it may be, this is where you guys can actually edit these. So you guys have full access to edit the checklists and go over who would generally be assigned to it. You can kind of put their name in it if you'd like. You guys have unlimited editability for this section. My recommendation is, again, when you guys have a second, come in here, take a look at what you guys have set up. Some teams are opting to use this, some teams are opting not to, whatever it may be. If you handle your own opportunities and you don't have a transaction coordinator, or your Rainmaker really isn't involved in them, you're functioning as a team, but you're really handling all of your own paperwork, you can also come in here and create your own. So you can still use this even though you're not on the team. They would just be automatically assigned to you. You would need to physically assign them to you with a due date, more so as like, think of it as like a reminder at that point. You would just be reminding yourself to call the client on, inspection day or whatever it may be. But this is something that I definitely recommend just taking a peek at. You can actually set them up based on the status of the listing. So if I go back to listings, you'll have different ones for appointment, different ones for active. So if I pull up appointment and edit stages, you guys can actually create different ones in here. You'll notice that now it's scheduling, scheduled, kept, and it's different checklists. It's actually based on the section that you're in. So you guys can set up, a different checklist for each section, then go into buyers and do the exact same thing, different checklist for each section. If you guys do handle rentals, you can do a different checklist there as well. So this allows you guys to get as specific as you really want to get. So if you guys do decide to use that, my recommendation, take a look. Definitely test it on a dummy contact first, just so you can see how it's going to look. Also, primarily to see how, I'll pull up my test one again. Should be at the bottom. Just to see how those client updates are going to look too. So if you guys are going to be using client updates, make sure that you're taking a look at how they're going to look before you just start sending stuff out to your clients. Also, learn more is just going to pull up Keller Williams International. It's going to pull up their kind of like their breakdown of that platform, which I've also added that into the text of the notes. But I'll make sure I get all of that out to you guys as well. One last thing I just want to show you guys, and I apologize, I know we're going so over. I just want to show you guys smart plans very quick. This is going to be primarily through a Rainmakers account, but I just want to make sure that you guys know where it is, how to toggle through it, especially if you guys are maybe helping the Rainmaker get everything put together. Just want to make sure you guys know where it is. So if you guys just click on Smart Plans really quickly. Yes, if you have two Rainmakers, you'll both see each other's everything without having to assign anything. As long as you're set up as a Rainmaker, that needs to be done by the office. So just keep that in mind. Market Center Administrator is the only one who can set you up as a Rainmaker with that unlimited access, because even setting somebody up manually with unlimited access, there are a couple of things only a Rainmaker has access to because they are a Rainmaker. So just keep that in mind. But yes, the MCA, if you guys have two Rainmakers, especially if you're a spouse team, it's usually my personal recommendation to both be set up as Rainmakers, just so you're not having to assign stuff to your spouse or check in and things like that. It allows you guys to both have that same equal access to everything. But once you guys click on Smart Plans, you'll see on the top right-hand corner, still in my team account, but you'll notice if I toggle back to my personal account, I have different Smart Plans. So you guys actually have two different folders now for Smart Plans if you're a part of a team. You have your team ones showing up on your team profile. These can only be created and edited by people who have unlimited access and enhanced access. Enhanced will allow them to make tweaks to it, but I don't believe they can create them at this time. I don't have all of the permissions memorized yet. I apologize. But I would take a look at permissions. Just make sure that whoever is going to be handling editing, adjusting, creating, tweaking your Smart Plans has access to do so. Because as the default, your Rainmaker is actually the only one who's given access. Everybody else will have to have tweaked permissions in order to edit that. Make sure you keep that in mind. They will have access to come in here. You guys can create custom ones. You guys can edit existing ones. And one of the coolest things to this day, I think that Smart Plans has to offer is if you guys actually click on library, you'll see now we have our KW provided Smart Plans are the first 10. You guys can toggle through them. These are provided by Keller Williams International, which is pretty cool. But if you guys scroll down, you're going to see top rated and what's new. There are 2,700 Smart Plans that other agents have manually created and shared with you, meaning that you can actually use these. Think of it as like a template or a guide. You guys can actually come in here, view the steps, figure out exactly what's being done on that Smart Plan. That was only one, but if you guys pull up like a 10-step one, it tells you what's happening, what's being sent out. Call, it gives you a heads up in regards to what you should be talking to them about, what the email is going to look like. And then you guys can add that Smart Plan to your library and customize it. So you don't have to use the exact verbiage. You don't have to use the pronouns, or if they have something specific to their area, you guys can tweak all of this. For this, I'm just going to select a random Smart Plan. I'll just do this one. And I'm just going to show you guys how to tweak it really quick, because these are great tools. Essentially, other agents, other staff members have already done the legwork and put these together, and they shared them with you. So now you can come in here. I just selected one. And before I even do that, on the top, you guys have a search bar. So say you guys are looking for like a Facebook follow-up once you guys obtain Facebook leads, I can just type in Facebook and it will pull up any Smart Plan that has the name Facebook in the name. So this is a great tool to keep in mind. I'll snag this one, Facebook follow-up plan. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click on add plan, and you'll see all of these are free as well. And you guys can tweak this if you want. You guys can tweak the name, whatever it may be. And I'm just gonna click on download. And I'm under the team platform, so this is being downloaded into the team profile. Once you get your green ribbon that says it's been downloaded, I'm just going to go back to my team plans, and you'll see it's populating first now. And now what I can do, and this is 100% something that you guys should be doing, always check your Smart Plans before setting anybody up on them. So even if you think that everything's all set, always click on this pencil. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull up that editability. So you guys now have access to come in here, spell check everything, make sure task names looks correct, make sure there's no contact information for the agent who created it. Sometimes that happens, or pronouns if you need to change those, if you guys are a team and you want plural pronouns, whatever it may be. Come in here, tweak them accordingly. You'll notice here, tasks it's letting you know are set up as contact assignee. Default is Rainmaker. they don't have Twilio set up, but the text message would come from the Rainmaker. At this time, as the Rainmaker, I can also unselect that or unclick it, uncheck it, and change this to contact assignee if I'd like. So the smart plan setup that we did do on the back end of settings, it's not locked in stone 100%. You can essentially come in and manually update it on smart plans as well. Scroll down, you guys can adjust text. You guys can maybe you want a 3-day delay, 5-day delay. You guys can tweak this however you see fit. Anytime you guys do make edits, you do want to make sure that you save that specific section. You'll get that little green ribbon. And as you go down and you make your tweaks, save each one. And then you want to do the master save on the top right-hand corner. One other thing I just want to point out with Smart Plan specifically, this is new, add trigger event. You guys now have access to add a trigger event, meaning you guys can actually link a tag to a Smart Plan. Very cool. This is something that I know a lot of agents have been waiting for. So if you guys click on that add trigger event, you have contacts, contact tag. You guys can actually select tags, and depending on how they're tagged, they will automatically be added to the Smart Plan. Keep in mind, this is for new contacts going forward. So in other words, if I have 50 contacts already tagged as agent and I add agent as a trigger tag, it's not going to grab those contacts. It's only going to grab those new contacts. So in other words, tomorrow I have, a new recruit that I add to my team database, whatever it may be, and I tag them as agent, they will then be dropped on this Smart Plan. So in other words, the Smart Plan is assuming that you're manually adding those tags to your Smart Plan via your contact section. And going forward, this trigger will capture anybody that's tagged with that trigger tag. I hope that makes sense. We also have a tip video on this specifically, just in case, but I want to make sure that I point that out because for teams, this is huge because if you're tagging your contacts as your name, which I know some teams do just for sanity's sake, they don't have to open the profile to see who it's assigned to. They've been tagging themselves. So if it's assigned to John Smith is tagging it as John Smith. You guys actually have access to maybe have your Rainmaker come in here and create a Smart Plan just for you. And then you can add your contacts to that Smart Plan that's branded with your information. Kind of cool, something to keep in mind. But once you guys have set that up, you just click on save and that will save all of your updates for you. Again, personal recommendation, once you guys have made your edits, I always recommend that you guys add a dummy contact to a Smart Plan before bulk adding people. Heaven forbid there's a typo or a formatting issue. You would rather be the one to see it than 500 of your clients. So just make sure that maybe you're running it through as a test first and make sure that everything looks good. You can add yourself to the Smart Plan just by clicking on the little button. And then like we have our dummy people. I have all my dummy profiles in here. I can just go ahead and just select myself and it will add me to the Smart Plan. 0 neighborhoods, don't panic. That's just letting you know there's no neighborhood set up on that contact profile. If you guys are using like a monthly neighborhood search, that would need to be added. But that's pretty much it. If you guys are using Twilio, again, keep in mind with the team Smart Plans, your Twilio account will be used if contact assignee is the option. The Rainmaker's Twilio account will be used if Rainmaker is the option. Same thing for mail. If Rainmaker is selected, Rainmaker's command mail is going to be used. A contact assignee, it means that the contact assignee, that agent, their command mail is going to be used. That pretty much sums everything up. I know you guys will probably have questions. If you guys have any questions, definitely let us know. I will, again, hyperlink all of the notes underneath the recording. So if you guys are watching the recording, I'll make sure everything is on there. My plan is also to get a tip video for you guys for lead routing specifically because there's so much information for that. But play around with it. You can't break this system, I promise. So if you guys play around with it and you come up with questions, let us know. And we're more than happy to take a look at your account because really each team is probably functioning a little bit different. So keep us posted. And I appreciate you guys coming to class today.